Gophers cruise past Rhode Island 48-0, their first victory of the season. Gophers Hall of Famer Ron Johnson right here. He's going to help us break it all down. All coming up next on the Locked On Gophers POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Golden Gophers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Second Gophers POSTCAST of the year right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. That's your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. Joining me, as always, Gophers Hall of Famer Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show each and every Tuesday. Follow him on X if you haven't already. He's at 3Ron Johnson. Ron, before we get too far into it, your boy Eric Decker, honorary captain, out on the coin toss, inducted into the Gophers Hall of Famer. You guys are like top three in almost every receiving category for the Gophers. How cool was that to see?
Yeah, no, it's cool. I know, it was coming because, I figured, they're kind of going in order now. You had Omar Douglas go in, then I went in, and now Eric Decker. So I'm guessing next on the list is probably like a Tyler Johnson at some point.
Right.
I don't know if Ernie Wheelwright has done enough to earn it. But, yeah, it's cool because, some records stand the test of time, and, we continue to stay on top of the list. Just wish the Gophers had let me be honorary captain. I don't know what I did to not get the honorary captain.
Yeah, we got to start the petition, man. What's going on?
No, they let Lawrence Maroney and Eric Decker do it. I don't know why they didn't let me do it, but hey,
yeah, you heard it here first. Yeah, comment below, man. We got to start the petition. Ron Johnson's got to get out there and flip that coin. Still one of my favorite Ron Johnson Show episodes, by the way. You guys chopped it up actually a year ago to the day, September 7th, 2023. Go check that out up on the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube page. Plenty to get into, but first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by PrizePicks, easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedon. Use code all lowercase LOCKEDON for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, Ron, Gophers get their first win in dominating fashion over Rhode Island, 48-0. Max Brosmer finally got into a rhythm. He was slinging it around, man. 24 of 30, 271, 2 TDs. We got our first taste of Darius Taylor coming back from injury as well, 14 carries, 64 yards and a touchdown. Just start with your biggest takeaways, kind of your A topics from this one.
Well, it was good to see, Max Brosmer throw the ball. You look at almost 300 yards. I think I said it on the roundtable on Friday.
Yeah.
We made some big predictions or thoughts, and I was like, you know what? I think Max Brosmer is going to throw for 300 yards, and it was close. A lot of people, I put it on Twitter. I was like, hey, I think PJ Fleck needs to open it up a little bit, let him throw the ball around a little bit. And everybody's like, has PJ changed? He changed a little bit. He got to throw the ball a little bit today. Seeing Darius Taylor back out there was great for them. I'm guessing he's going to be on a pitch count for the next game as well because Iowa, you're going to probably see about 30-plus carries in Iowa because that's what they do. But, no, he did a great job, facilitating the ball. Honestly, though, man, I was excited to see Drake Lindsey as well. Like,
right.
Drake Lindsey getting a chance to play at the end of the game. He has a really tight throw, so the future is bright as well with the Gophers.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that later on, but to your point here, Ron, last Thursday, we came on here last Thursday night. It was a lot of venting, a lot of frustration from not so much Max Brosmer himself, but the coaches, the game plan they put him in, basically not putting him in very good situations, right? Not getting him into a rhythm with some easier passes, some easier concepts. So I know it's only one game, but did you see enough improvements in that area as far as building the right game plan, calling plays to help your new quarterback finally gain some confidence and some momentum moving forward now?
Yeah, I did. I think, and honestly, the first game was more, I think, jitters a little bit too.
Sure.
It wasn't all on Max. It wasn't all on the Gophers. I think it was a combination where, early on, the offensive line didn't look great. Some of the throws were a little bit, Max didn't look on, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I say third quarter, they only had a handful of plays last time in the third quarter, so there wasn't even a chance to really throw the ball or do anything third quarter. And then fourth quarter, he got it going. So I think if he had more third quarter opportunities, North Carolina just dominated time of possession in third quarter. I think you would have saw more from Max. But, he got in the fourth quarter, got a chance to go no tempo or up tempo offense, and he looked good. So, yeah, he's shown me a big change, a big difference. Not a huge, it is, he's going to be great. Not a huge, it was great, but it was a huge, here's a building block. Because as PJ Fleck always says, you gotta build the house. You gotta have a foundation, and you gotta have a roof. You gotta have walls, and so they're building what Max Brosmer is going to look like.
Yeah, golf clap for Greg Harbaugh, the OC. Had the quick game cooking on first and second down. I just loved it. Ball out of his hands quick, staying ahead of the chains. 4, 5, 6 yards on first down, keeping the defense guessing. That's what you wanted to see. That's what you were talking about last week. They were definitely sorely missing that last week versus North Carolina in a big way too. Keep that going now, week by week. Keep building off that, because when you got 2nd and 4, Kyle Rudolph, by the way, was the color man up there doing the play-by-play. When you got 2nd and 4, he was calling it out. You got every play in the playbook wide open. The defense is just sitting out there just guessing on their heels. And again, obviously this week and next week versus Nevada as well, these are supposed to be the tune-up games, right? 23.5-point spread today, but you still got to go out there. You still got to execute. For the most part, I thought they did. Here's my question, though. Brosmer looked way better, super encouraging. He was comfortable making the checks, calling things at the line of scrimmage, 2-minute drill, all that stuff. You love to see it. How much of the improvement, though, was just facing a weaker opponent, a weaker defense, versus how much was just having that first game under his belt, shaking off those nerves? Because you've played the game, Ron. You've been in these shoes. You've been on the field. There's something tangible as far as the variables go when it comes to the human element of things, right? These guys are humans too.
Yeah, there is a little bit of human nature to it. So I think at the end of the day, it's figuring out what's going to work.
Yeah.
That team was, I mean, they were better. That wasn't a great team when you think about Rhode Island.
Right.
They were okay. The dual quarterback, I heard Kyle Rudolph say it. He hoped that they would see him run a little bit more. The Gophers kept him in the pocket. I said that in the pregame show. That was one of my keys with the defense, is keep that guy in the pocket. You keep him in the pocket, I don't think he can beat you. And they did that. They had rush. Their rush lanes were, I forgot what the word is I'm looking for. I lost the word. But they had discipline. Sorry, there it is. Rush discipline.
Yeah.
They were very disciplined in the rush game. Nobody got outside and tried to do something crazy. There was nobody losing contain on the quarterback. You see when you keep him in the pocket, he threw 2 interceptions before his replacement came in, and he threw an interception. So I think they did a great job. But it was good to see like Coy Parrish and some of those guys making those plays. And at the end of the day, yes, it was a weaker opponent, but you still got to catch the ball. You still got to get the interceptions, so on and so forth, and they were able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, too. And the other big part of this, by the way, Driver with the touchdown today, Elijah Spencer, multiple nice catches, 12 different guys recorded a catch today, 12. But the other part of this equation, you already touched on it, that was just so obvious right from the get-go, clear as day. Having that X factor, that blue-chip talent, Darius Taylor, in the back end, making plays, that clearly made a huge difference for Brosmer and the entire offense too, right? Like, put into words how much that dude moves the needle as far as just how much more potent, how much more dangerous this offense is when Darius Taylor is on the field.
I mean, he made all the running backs look better today, but I think, again, North Carolina was a veteran group. It was a better group. It was a lot more to North Carolina's defense. It was like they had one sophomore starting. Now you run into a team that doesn't have that. You played a team that doesn't have as many, D1 level talent. These guys, nothing against it, but these guys were at Rhode Island for a reason. Whether they transferred in because they didn't, it didn't work out for them at a bigger school. But that's what sports is about. Like, sometimes you get the little giant and they come out and they kill you. And sometimes you play the Goliath role and you do what you're supposed to do. And the Gophers did. I think if it was a closer game today, people could cry about it. The fact that they went out there and had a 48-0 shutout, you can't say anything about it. Like, they did what they were supposed to do against a weaker opponent. And so that's the thing. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in a situation like this. If that's a closer game, people are probably going to look at that box score later and see 41-40, and they're like, "Oh my God, the Gophers aren't good," or 48-42, like, "Oh my God, their defense." No, their defense went out there and dominated. Their offense went out there and moved the ball. They did exactly what their quarterback threw for 271 yards. So I mean, look at Michigan. Michigan played Texas. Texas was like, quote unquote, Texas dominated. They're the number 3 team, but as a top 10 team, it should be a closer game. Michigan was never really in that game. It was 31-6, and then I think the finish was 31-12. So that's the type of things you look at. Like, how does the game look? How does it play? How does it feel? Minnesota did exactly what they were supposed to do, which is they defeated a weaker opponent. And so now heading into Nevada, it should be something similar. Nate Burleson, I know his son plays for Nevada, so I don't know if he's going to, be tuning in he'll be tuning in. I don't know if he'll make the trip.
Right.
But I know that's one cool thing about this is you got to dominate the teams you're supposed to dominate, and this was one of them.
Such a good point. Great breakdown there. All right, a deep dive into the Gophers' defensive day. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships. Also, what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to the ultimate peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. They got it all, and whether you're into speed, power, or style, they got you covered. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back with all the parts you need at the prices you want. Easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. I think you brought up a great point here, Ron, at the top. How huge is it in college when you can get up by that much and let some of your young guys get some really valuable reps under their belt? Because that's like the happy medium and balance to coaching in college, right? You're always trying to win now with your best players, but in the back of your mind, you know as well, you got to get these young guys, the young pups, ready to roll, waiting in the wings. And the only way to do that is to get them some live reps. So how huge was that today, getting some sophomores and some freshmen some valuable playing time like that?
I think the biggest is like when you can get guys like Drake Lindsay in the game.
Yeah,
I think that's huge. Also, though, when you look at these transfer running backs, even the older guys like Mangum,
right.
I think that's key too, because what you don't want is guys to feel like they don't have a shot. Also, if they have to come in, you want to make sure they can get it done. And so you're able to see 4 to 5, right? I think Jordan Newbin he got some carries. So seeing all these guys get a chance to have a carry, I think that's the big thing about it, is like they got a lot out of their guys today. But yeah, for those freshmen to get in, like Drake Lindsay, to see Coy Parrish out there balling out, like it is huge for just the psyche of the team. And then also, like, because I heard Kyle Rudolph mention it on the broadcast, like, or maybe his play-by-play guy, but the transfer portal. So many guys jump in the portal because they never get to play and they just feel like they don't have a shot. Now, these guys, one, as a coach, I know you can play at this level. 2, you can play at this level, and we're going to play you when the time comes. And so I think that was 2 big moments today for that team.
Yeah, Drake Lindsay, kind of the prime example of that. Quarterback, never taken a college rep before, getting his first taste of action just to get out on the field. Huge win for Greg Harbaugh. And again, the luxury of being up 41 points in the fourth quarter. The defense was phenomenal today. In fact, Rhode Island did not cross the 50-yard line all day. They forced 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, 1 pick six. I know it's not like, Ohio State Buckeyes offense or anything, but still got to be awfully encouraged by the statement the defense came out and made today too, right?
Yeah, because all you heard was like, dual threat, so on and so forth, all this dual threat stuff. And you didn't see that. You like they nullified the whole dual threat quarterback. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is like, if you can nullify a dual threat quarterback and you can nullify what he does, and you can stop what he's doing, that's huge. That's huge in this game. And so I think that's the biggest key to this is you have to be able to understand the dual threat quarterback situation. And the defense went out and did it. So yeah, you can chalk it up to like whatever you want. This team is not as good. This team is this. Hey, they did what they're supposed to do. And again, dominate. Like they dominated. It wasn't just a win. It wasn't like, they had a couple interceptions. They had 3 picks. They dominated that offense for Rhode Island. And again, Rhode Island last week, their quarterback put up 300 plus. I mean, 289 or 287 in the air and 66 on the ground? Not even close today.
The defense was only on the field round for 17 minutes. That alone is pretty wild. Some of it, okay, thanks to the offense sustaining some long drives. That was great as well. But I know the number one thing you wanted to see was getting off the field on third downs. They came back. They made a statement in that category. Rhode Island offense 3 of 11 on third down. They were 1 of 9 for most of the game. Less than 150 yards allowed. I mean, lower level competition or not, again, you had to be encouraged by the improvement we saw in that category specifically, were you not?
Yeah, so if you think about it, like, again, lesser opponent, like Omarion Hampton for North Carolina is legit.
Right.
Max Johnson is probably a better quarterback. Not probably, is a better quarterback than Devin Farrell. When you think about everything that he's been through, you look at the weapons that North Carolina had. Yeah, it was a little tougher, and it was the first game. This team, hey, third down, do what you're supposed to do. Also, they didn't put them in manageable third downs either. Like that was the biggest thing. If you can win on first and second down, it makes third down a lot harder. And that's why, like, if you look at vice versa, like you said, Kyle Rudolph talked about this. I said this in the pregame as well. If you can get in 2nd and 4, you have a ton of stuff. I literally said it on Gophers game day today.
Yeah.
2nd and 4, 3rd and 2, that's where you want to live. Those are manageable situations, but you have a bevy of plays you can call from there.
One of the worst third down defenses in the entire country last year. And then last week versus North Carolina, we all remember it. They picked up kind of right where they left off. They allowed them to convert on over 50%. So again, huge improvement. Hopefully they can keep some of that momentum going in the following weeks. I know there was Vikings scouts here today watching Justin Wally, the cornerback, and some other guys. I'd assume one of the other guys was Ja Joyner, pass rushing defensive end. You've played in the NFL. You know there's a certain eye test that people have to pass kind of thing to at least have a crack at the NFL. Tyler Nubin, right? That's a great example. Drafted in the 2nd round to New York, who, by the way, we'll see him tomorrow afternoon versus the Vikings. But what puts guys like Joyner and Wally on the NFL radar? What makes them so unique and so special?
Well, Justin Wally was Mr. Mississippi. Like, I don't know if you knew that, but coming out of high school, he was the #1 player in the state of Mississippi. So just like Mr. Minnesota, he was Mr. Mississippi. Like, the guy was legit. So for the Gophers to land him, that's huge. And if you think about, like, the DB trajectory from here, you go back to Antoine Winfield, Tyler Nubin, Jordan Howden, Benjamin St. Juste. Like, you can go on and on about NFL caliber DBs that Minnesota has had. And now you add Justin Wally to the bit. You know, he's legit. I mean, you can go back to Brian Body Calhoun, Willie Middlebrooks, like Jimmy Wyrick. Like, there's been a while where there are a lot of guys that have done it. But most recently, like I said, you got 2 of the best safeties the Gophers have had in Antoine Winfield and Tyler Nubin. And so what Justin Wiley brings is just that pedigree of, like, what are the Gophers doing that makes their DBs? Benjamin St. Juste, starting in NFL. What is it that makes their DBs good? And then you fast forward that, and you look at Ariante Ursary. That's the name you didn't name. Ariante Ursary, the left tackle, is one of the top tackles. He's going to be playing on Sundays. So I know that's another guy that NFL scouts are looking at. But for the Vikings, you look at Ja Joyner as a rush in. I don't think he fits Minnesota. I don't know if he's I don't think he plays a true outside linebacker. He's a true Daniil Hunter type. Yeah. I could see Anthony Smith. Now, he's a guy that plays like the 5 tech for the Gophers, like 5 tech, sometimes 3 tech, big number 0. Like, he's a guy that could be a late round pick or mid round pick. But of course, cornerback for the Vikings, we know that's something they need. And so Justin Wiley's definitely on their radar for sure.
Irsay, by the way, that left tackle, getting legitimate first-round buzz. I know we got a whole season to play, but keep that in the back of your mind. Let me circle back to a guy you already mentioned, Coy Parrish. First career interception, true freshman, high school All-American, MVP of the All-American game, local boy, Esco, Minnesota. PJ got him to commit, stayed in state, despite guys like Ryan Day and Ohio State just begging him to switch over to the dark side. Didn't know if we'd see him or not today, but how about that start to his collegiate career? I mean, living up to the hype, tip pass interception. What's his ceiling, dude? Like, how good could he be once he develops and gets some snaps under his belt?
Yeah, I mean, he's a legit kid, but here's the thing too, and I'm glad, I hope he realizes this, is, he had some late buzz from some of those big schools like Ohio State, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And what was the guarantee that he was going to play there?
Right.
But he's starting not starting, but he's going to play at Minnesota eventually. And I think he's a guy that's going to learn. He's a guy that's going to be able to figure out this defense. He's a guy playing with a great group of DBs and teammates. So I think he'll be just fine.
Again, one of the most highly touted recruits to come here in a long time. And they really believe, they really truly believe he's got a phenomenal future here. And also, I don't care who it is or what position you play. If you're starting as a true freshman, 18, 19 years old in the Big Ten, that kind of already speaks volumes of the talent and the, potential, the ceiling, all that stuff that he's got for sure. All right. Quick sneak peek to next week. Nevada coming into town. You hope it's another tune-up game. What do you want to see them just build on from today's game next week, Ron? What's the top thing or two you want to see them continue to build on and get better at?
Find a tempo offense. Do more of that. More quick game, but also I want to see Max hit 300 yards. Like, get him a 300-yard game. Get that under his belt. Make sure you have that in the bucket because, again, against Iowa and some of these teams, you're going to be in 3rd and 7. You're going to be in 3rd and 8. You got to convert. And I think that's going to be the key. He didn't have a lot of that today. Last week, he didn't do it. So now, next week, if he's in that situation, I want to see some absolute just dominance from that offense where he's able to figure that out. 3rd and 8, here's my read. Because we saw Drake Lindsey. Drake Lindsey had a nice, I don't know if that was a corner or an over route, but he waited. I think it was an over. He waited for it to clear. He threw it on time to the sideline. Maybe bad coverage. His touchdown, same thing. Maybe bad coverage. But I was impressed with like how they looked. And so for Max Brosmer, I want to see that. For the defense, again, same thing. No leaks in the boat. Just keep doing what you're doing and stay after these guys. But they got to find – so like Christian Driver looked really good. Yep. I want to see a Daniel Jackson coming out game. Like I want Daniel Jackson to finally him and Max Brosmer to click so much that it becomes like a dominant game.
Yeah, we're due for that breakout DJ game for sure. All right, one more quick segment before we got to get out of here. We're going to talk about the Big Ten and what's standing out the most. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. So simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. I've had good luck this baseball season. That's still in full swing. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDON for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, last one here, Ron. Just looking at the Big Ten, man. It's a new version of this Big Ten. USC looked legit versus LSU last week. We got UCLA here now. Michigan, you mentioned it. They got steamrolled by Texas today. What has stuck out the most as far as this new Big Ten football action goes? Could be a team, could be a player, good, bad, you name it. Just what has taken you by surprise the most as far as this Big Ten action goes?
Oh, so in the first week, and again, I should have deep dived a little bit more. I was a little bit more upset last week that they lost. And so I was looking at the 17 wins by the other teams and 1 loss. Yep. But Minnesota was only one of, I think, 4 teams total that played Power 4 schools. And so that was one piece to it. But when you look at the Big Ten, I mean, Michigan just losing to Texas like that, maybe it's not as strong as we thought it was going to be. I mean, we'll see. We'll see as this goes. And it's a long season. But I'm really impressed with like the newcomers. You look at USC, looks really good. You look at UCLA, you look at Oregon, looks really good. But again, we're going to see Oregon, tonight. Like we'll see what that or later today what it looks like. So I'm kind of like my early impression of the Big Ten is we just don't know because there's been so much turnover. Like I want to see Ohio State up against a big dog. Like I want to see Ohio State because that new freshman receiver kid is supposed to be the next Marvin Harrison Jr. And, he was like one of the quickest freshmen to ever get his gray stripe off his or black stripe off his helmet and so on and so forth. So I want to see this. Like, I want to see him in a big game. I want to see Ohio State in there because now the way Michigan just got killed by Texas, it feels like this might be Ohio State's year to pounce on Michigan. And, but at the end of the day, this Big Ten championship or whatever champion, it could be, unfortunately, and it's going to be so annoying. We might be crowning somebody from the Pac-10. We might be.
I hate it. Dude, I hate it. Here's my semi-hot, bold prediction. I'm looking at Nebraska. Not saying they're going to be in the championship when this is all said and done, but that #1 recruit in the country, Dylan Raiola, son of longtime Detroit Lion offensive guard Dominic Raiola. You remember him. He's got the genes. He looked great last week, looked every bit the part of this highly touted and kind of hyped up #1 recruit in the country. But then I look at the schedule. It looks like 5-2 at minimum, if not 6-1, maybe even undefeated 7-win team when they play Ohio State in Week 8 this year. That would just be a fantastic matchup as far as Big Ten football goes, and just as far as just pure raw talent on the field goes as well. Gophers had to wait 9 long days, got that bad taste out of their mouth. They did that and more. Good beatdown on Rhode Island. First victory of the year, 48-0. Nevada up next, Saturday the 14th. Right here again at Huntington Bank Stadium. Kickoff for that one. It's a late one, 2:30 p.m. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. We'll be back each and every game right here, breaking it all down. Got to go check out all of Ron's work on X at 3 Ron Johnson. Plus, check him out on the Ron Johnson Show each and every week right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Go like this video, subscribe to the channel. So close to 8,000 subscribers. That's always much, much appreciated. All right, Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you September 14th versus Nevada, but until then, signing out.